saying.
If you see it, say it.
Please welcome your host, everybody's fan favourite, Andy Dartsy. But to you, it's yours truly. It's Dartsman.
I'd like the secret. I'd like to run another way. I'd like the secret. I'd like to run another way. I'd like the secret. I'd like to run another way. I'd like the secret.
Hello! You're listening to this special Night Owls edition of the Key Secret Life with the one and only me, yours truly. I hope you're all sitting comfortably, and I hope Cruzy, formerly young Elvis, is listening. He'll kill me for saying that, as I'm joined by a radio legend. Many of his listeners just simply love this guy, whose nickname is the Flashing Blade. I was howling when I read that story, but he's going to be telling me later on. 01914883188 is the number to call on a Sunday evening from 10 p.m. That number is just so well known from this guy. Obviously I'm saying don't ring in now because this is not live on the Greatest Hits Radio, and if you try ringing you won't get an answer from anyone in the office apart from a Sunday evening. His ghost adventures I enjoy so much. I've listened to this guy for years and years. My late grandmother Pat won a Woman in Me CD from the Night Owls many years ago on a competition. Her and me Auntie Kathy used to ring this upcoming guest and have a good old laugh and a banter with him. Honestly, he's just the legend to radio broadcasting. He's hanging up his mic and hat, but only for one time as he pours a cup of tea or maybe something stronger. So excited for this, and I hope everyone is too. I think we better waste no time and get our first and only caller on, and it's the lovely Mr. Alan ROBSON MBE from Newcastle. Good evening, Alan.
Hello, mate. How are you doing?
I'm alright. Did you enjoy that intro?
That's very nice of you. Thank you, kindly.
Yeah, more than welcome. So, Alan, tell us from the start of your career, how did you take up radio broadcasting and what made you want to do it?
Started off trying to be a singer and wasn't a particularly good one, but I was young and we did the clubs and pubs and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just liked the idea of being up on stage, but I wasn't good enough to be a singer, so I thought I'd try being a mobile DJ. And after a few years of that, started auditioning for radio stations and was fortunate enough to get in at Metro back then.
After Metro began broadcasting, in July 1974, and obviously initially presented by James Whale and then followed by Alan Beswick, Tony Crosby and Dave Porter before you took over in 1983. Can I ask, when you first did Nightowls, were you nervous?
I didn't want to do a talk show. I wasn't interested in talking to people, to be honest.
Yeah.
I joined the station to do a music show.
Yeah.
And I was just about to join full time, having quit a job that made an awful lot more money than radio did at the time. And I knew that I was due to start my new music show the following Monday.
Yeah.
And they rang me saying that the talk show had no listeners. The people that were doing it at the time were dying, essentially. So I said, would you like to have a crack at it? And I said, no, I want to do the show that you promised me. But they said, look, give it a go. This is the one this is the opportunity. We think you can do it.
So either it happens your way or it doesn't happen at all.
Well, that's the way I would love it to be, but it wasn't the case. So I gave a try to doing the talk show.
Yes, and
It was made to be rude and unpleasant and make people hang up and be controversial. And I hated that. You get more out of people if you're nice to them. So,
and it sounded like that you thought, nah, I'm not having this. I'm doing it my way, whether they like it or not.
right, well, that's ultimately how it was, and fortunately it worked out for me.
Very good. Alan, I certainly hope you can forgive me for this next question, but when I studied it online, it made me giggle. 1996, you found yourself centre stage at the biggest sports story of the year, one of the biggest in Newcastle's history. Tell us about the time when you had to introduce Alan Shearer to the Magpie fans.
Well, long story short, they made a phone call to me because I was doing other stuff at St James's Park at the time. I was hosting all of the games.
Yeah.
So they said, we've got a new signing. It's called Alan Shearer. He's coming from Blackburn Rovers for a huge amount of money at the time. And we'd like you to come along and just set him up, do 15, 20 minutes, rev the crowd up.
Oh, yes.
And do what you can. So I came along. The idea was to do 20 minutes, but it started raining.
Oh!
He was due out at... He
Oh.
was due out around 12 o'clock, and there was already about 40,000, 50,000 people there in a huge group.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying out in the rain and did an hour. Then they came out and they said, can you do another hour until the rain goes off? Well, the rain didn't stop for another 2.5 hours. So I ended up talking about absolutely nothing for 3.5 hours with the crowd, but we managed to get through it, and it was worth it because Alan did us proud when he signed.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because obviously you were talking away on stage, weren't you? And then obviously you didn't realise it was beside you at the last minute. Pretty much, Igor. Oh, listen, I know you're going to say, oh, no, to this next one, but obviously it's one of your other best-known works. But Pennine Windows. You know what, Alan? You certainly must have helped their business with selling a lot of windows. How did Pennine approach you? Did they say we need a Geordie voice to be the new voice of Pennine, etc.?
No, at the very beginning they just needed a voice to do an advert, and I did an advert for them, and it went well, and it increased the number of people that bought windows, so they kept coming back, and then eventually they signed me up to do like years worth of adverts, and I did about 5 or 6 years with them, and it was very successful.
Can you remember the number for it still?
Absolutely not.
0800 22 5522.
That sounds about right.
Okay. How did you feel, Alan, when Arriva Buses, back then, obviously Northumbria at the time, advertised the company with a cartoon picture of yourself printed on the vehicle? And obviously we'll have a couple of photographs, by the way, of the cartoon image of Alan Robson. Tell us about that. What did you feel like, delighted about it, or?
Surprised more than anything, because I was doing a big gig at Newcastle's Haymarket.
Yeah.
With a girl who was in Coronation Street at the time. It was a lady who played Raquel.
Sarah Lancashire,
the very woman. Well, Sarah and I were hosting a gig at the bus station in the Haymarket.
Yeah.
So we had dancers on stage and a huge audience of about 3,000 to 4,000 people all partying and having fun. And Sarah, obviously being in Coronation Street, a much bigger star than I ever was, and then all of a sudden when she stepped out on stage, she just got to the microphone and my bus backed up. Which I thought was really funny. She hated it, but I thought it was really funny.
It was like backing away when she was talking at the same time.
Well, I'd just finished, so I was just stepping off, and she wanted to pick up where I'd left. She found it hard to do that with a big picture of me standing behind me.
Oh, bless her. With your big moustache at the time.
Absolutely.
Okay, Alan, tell us about when you got wind of your 40th anniversary, when a caller said to you that he could remember the day you did your first show.
Well, I knew it was coming because obviously I've done all of those shows right away across. So when it got to that point, it was just another show, to be honest. But it gave us an excuse to play some of the great clips that we'd had over the years. And a lot of really nice people came on and said kindly things. So it was nice. Enjoyed it.
Like, I can remember you... I remember your first show and it was like this date and you went, how do you know that? And you said it wasn't your first, radio broadcast because obviously you started in 74, I believe.
No, it was 76.
Oh, I was close. I was close.
The radio station started in 74. I started working kind of part-time at the very beginning, and then slowly but surely they got me on air, and then it went on from there.
Now, is it true, Alan, that Ross Noble got a pal to ring you up about a baby crocodile being released in a Newcastle park?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Ross was doing a gig in town, and he traditionally listened to Nightowls when he was going to and from places in the northeast.
Yeah.
So when he was on stage, he said to his audience, let's have some fun with Alan on the radio tonight. I want some of you to ring in to say that you've seen a small alligator in the park, in Lees's Park.
Oh, my God.
So it went on from there, and within 3 days, it was on the front page of the Mirror, the Sun, and the Star. Daily Express was ringing, radio stations from all over America were ringing me up saying, so where is this? Has anybody caught this alligator yet? And it was just Ross Noble. So last time Ross came in to do a show with me, I gave him an inflatable crocodile just to remind him of the...
In other words, to say, you swine.
I didn't mind that at all. To be honest, I thought it was a Mickey take. I didn't know it was his Mickey take. It's just if somebody rings up and they're having a bit of fun with me, I'll have a bit of fun back, and I was quite happy to let that run.
Of course.
It ran all over the country.
Good. Now, Alan, as I explained at the introduction, tell us about the nickname, the Flashing Blade.
Believe me. That is a much longer story than you would think.
Right.
I'll try and be swift with it.
Okay.
When I was doing live shows, very early days, and these are big rock shows in places like Castle Donington and Nebworth Rock Festival and places like that.
Yeah.
I had a nickname, the Brave and Fearless Leader was the nickname, because I did tend to boss people around a bit. And one of my crew saw a birthday card that had a picture of Errol Flynn, the Hollywood star, in a pirate film, and inside it said, "Happy birthday, oh brave and fearless leader." and in small print, it said, "Errol Flynn's flashing blade in the film The Seahawk." There was a picture of him on the front. So Brave and Fearless Leader continued, but then I started being called Flashing Blade because I did stuff like jumping out of aeroplanes, bungee jumps, all the stupid stuff that people have to do to try and get noticed. I did all of that, so they called me the Flashing Blade. Then I opened a nudist camp in Northumberland.
Yes, you did.
And went naked, and that photograph got round, so the Flashing Blade kind of worked again. I got arrested on a Greek beach for sunbathing, Flashing Blade again. And then I did a few pantomimes where the character was called the Flashing
Blade.
So it kind of stuck with me over the years. Not so much now, but it's still there.
I know, of course, yeah, it always plays a part in. And obviously, when that story came out, everybody at Metro Radio had it blown up for you in the office, didn't they?
That's right, with a big sign saying "Spot the ball."
And you were like, oh, I don't believe this.
Just what you want.
Just what you want.
What you want.
Now, on a serious note, Alan, obviously we know also it's very, very, very important to talk about mental health. But from what I've looked up on the internet during my research for this interview, you've saved a lot of people's lives during the Nightowls, haven't you? And I must say, you well and truly deserve that MBE, not just because of your radio and broadcasting career, but also saving a lot of lives and helping reduce the number of suicides.
Well, it's kind of you to say. I'm in a position where you've got to be very, very careful with people, because it's not enough just talking to them and being glib. You've got to realise that some of the people who are ringing in are asking for help and needing help.
Yeah.
You can't always do that on air. Sometimes you've got to do it after you come off air, then make a few phone calls to get people there to help them out. But I take the job seriously. So
Yeah.
it comes with the territory. Just at the present moment, there's never been less help for people with mental health issues than there is now. And it's a worrying time.
Yeah, and obviously, as what I read, he's a taxi driver now, one of the guys you rescued, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
And obviously...
There's a few doing all kinds of things.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's good to see them getting on with their lives.
Absolutely.
Hopefully being a little bit happier than they were.
Absolutely, yes. And also, you're of course best known for your ghostly adventures, regressions, and talking to the dead. You've published books about this too, haven't you?
Got a few out there at the moment.
Tell us more about how you got started on that.
How did it start? Well,
I put you on the spot there.
That's all right. I didn't believe in ghosts at the very beginning. In fact, I used to go on air and have a pop at people who did believe in ghosts.
Uh-huh.
And then one day I happened to be... I'm also a historian, and I was doing some work with a film company in Ireland. They wanted me to tell them the history of the area where they were doing a show.
Yeah.
So I went and researched the history, and I was in a room in a castle with 13 other people in the room, and something walked through the window, walked straight through the centre of the room. Everybody saw it, and it walked through the wall behind me, and I said, I don't know what that was, but I'm not going to say what I think I saw. I want everybody, just write down what you've just seen. Everybody wrote down exactly the same thing, so we all saw the same thing. If I'd have said, I've just seen a figure of a man with a white wig, everybody else would have written, I've just seen a figure of a white wig. So I didn't see anything, but they all wrote down the same thing. Now, if I didn't believe in ghosts, and I didn't,
Yeah.
and there was a good few people in that room that didn't believe in ghosts either, everybody kind of got a shock and swore. And
as you would do.
From that moment on, I've kept a more open mind, and I've seen a few things that I can't explain. And I know that 95% of the time, there's always a logical explanation. But the 5% that there isn't any explanation for, that's the fascinating thing that I'm looking for every time I go out.
Yeah, so you do sometimes ever see the spirits when you're doing your tours in that?
Absolutely. In my lifetime, I've probably seen about 11 or 12 actual figures. I've seen an awful lot more darkness move that seems to have a life of its own.
Yeah. Finally, Alan, going to just a couple of outside of work questions. What do you like? What's your food and drink outside of work?
I'm only allowed it once a week.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lose weight and have been for a little while now. But I love just a cold Pepsi, diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
And if I've got a chance to eat anything, I'll have chicken satay with peanut sauce. Love it.
And you like your pie and peas supper as well, don't you?
Don't mind the pies. I'm not big on pies. I have to say, pies and pasties are not particularly my thing.
No.
But chicken satay and a good takeaway any day.
Any day. And what's your favourite films, Alan? Do you have any favourite films that you like watching in your spare time?
I've got one or two that I particularly love. I mentioned Errol Flynn earlier on.
Yes, you did.
The greatest film ever made, in my opinion, is The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. It's the best Robin Hood film there has ever been. Love that. If we're looking more modern, I'm a bit of a fan of the remake of The Magnificent Seven. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes.
And last night I watched No Remorse with Michael Jordan, and I thought that was pretty good. It's brand new on Amazon.
Lovely. And finally, what would be your advice to people taking up radio broadcasting? Because we know one of your old colleagues, Paddy McD, back at Metro Radio, said to me, just be yourself and enjoy doing what you're doing. But you, Alan Robson, tell us all about what advice you can give to people.
It's harder now to get into radio than ever because they've closed down an awful lot of the local stations. Now most of radio is networked, right? You get 50 radio stations, but they're all playing the same thing from the same place, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, yes, Paddy's right. You've certainly got to be yourself and find out who you really are and what you're about and what's different about you, and make sure that you are kind. In my opinion, be kind to people, be interested in people. And it's not so much the talking, it's the listening that counts.
Yes, because obviously that's the likes of yourself and Paddy. You're dead down-to-earth people because you like to take other people's thoughts into account as well.
Sure.
That's right. Alan Robson MBE, thank you so much for your spare time for this interview, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
That's lovely. Thank you, David. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All the best.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.